that make leaders rise out with community and sometimes creating great history.
And welcome back. The Board of Engineers wishes to raise its public profile to bring about an awareness of the public, public employers of engineers, and the wider engineering community. Now, to tell us more is Vaughn Lezama, Registrar, Secretary of the Board of Engineering. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah?
Thanks.
Well, I know that one of the main thrusts and the reason why you're here this morning is to really speak about the importance as it relates to the registration of engineers in Trinidad and Tobago. Can you, I don't know if you have the data, but how much engineers do we have in Trinidad and Tobago? You have a ballpark?
Well, I say we probably have over 2,000 engineers. Okay, yeah. Tell me about 3,000 engineers altogether. I mean, we've been training engineers since 1962. So it's nearly 60 years now we've been training engineers at the tertiary level. Okay, so there's a pretty wide group of engineers. With the board, there are about 1,000, just about 1,000 engineers are registered with the board. So there's still probably another 1,000 who are qualified, who will be qualified, that is to say, who are practicing engineering and who are not really come under the purview of the Board of Engineering.
Yeah.
Now, the board is governed by an Act number 35 of 1985, which in fact incorporated the Board of Engineering. The purpose to regulate the practice of engineering by registering those engineers who are qualified and experienced and have the competency. Okay, what we found among the things, very importantly, one of the important key element of the function of the board is to advise the minister, in this case our line minister, with that minister to the of Public Works, in this case to the Minister of Works, to advise the minister on such amendment as it considers desirable. No, the term considers desirable. Now, just about 1998-99, the board then, having been constituted in 85, by 1999, the board considers desirable that we've reached the point when maybe engineers, there should be some element of mandatory registration of engineers. So we've been pursuing this issue of registration of engineers for the last 25 years without success. The board, the current board, which is led by its current chairman, Engineer Winston Mellows, that board, in fact, started an outreach to employers of engineers, mainly in the energy sector and those private sector who engage the service of engineers. And they've been on board. They understand the value of engaging engineers who are registered with the Board of Engineering. But at the same time, we haven't had any success in having amendments done to the Act. Now, if you allow me, I would make a comparison with another another profession act. This is the Legal Profession Act. Now, our Act of 85 preceded that act, which is Act 21 of 1986. The Legal Profession Act has been amended in 1996, in the year 2000, in the year 2008. While the Engineering Profession Act has been just in abeyance. So the time has come now when we believe, listen, we need to bring an awareness to the public, to engineers as a whole, the importance, what it means to be registered as an engineer, to employers of engineers, what it means to engage the services of engineers who are registered. Because as a registered engineer, one, you can be confident that that engineer has met a rigorous assessment of his engineering credential. You can be assured that the engineer possesses the qualifications and skills which he says he has. Okay? So, and for the general public, you need to understand that the Engineering Act is the only legislatively certification of professional engineers.
Yeah. So engineers are going to be looking at you this morning, Mr. Lezama, and they are going to question what is the value of having themselves registered.
Well, one, when you are registered, you certainly is testament to your employers that you are committed, one, to a code of ethics, and that code which means that you are, in terms of your objectivity, confidentiality, and certain ethicality in terms of dealing with your employers and their clients. certainly it means something. The very value, or say prestige of being a registered engineer, you carry the designation REng. That certainly means something. It certainly would widen your employment opportunities, your progression, your career progression, and certainly in terms of your promotions and so on in your organization. Because your employer now has the confidence and trust that you have met certain basic internationally recognized standard in terms of your qualifications, in terms of your competency. And you subscribe to code of ethics by which you are bound in order to maintain your
Who
life.
assesses the engineer?
Now, the Board of Engineering is a two-fold process. We have what is called an accreditation committee, which assesses the academic credentials of the engineer. And there's an assessment committee, which assesses the competency of the engineer. So there's that twofold, right? Now, the competency may be assessed through your body of work in terms of your experience. You could be subjected to an examination or simply an oral interview. But it's certainly a rigorous process, because that assessment committee, in fact, consists of a series of subcommittees with specialist engineers who, in fact, can do that rigorous assessment.
So we're talking about a team of experts as the assessors.
Exactly. So there are a series of subcommittees comprising of experts in the specific area. So engineers can register generally in the area of their qualification, which is you have the civil engineers, chemical, electrical, etc. But there are specialty areas, sub-specialty areas. So registration allows you to be able to identify your area of specialty. And that is certainly an important selling point.
Yeah. What are the requirements for an engineer to become registered?
Well, a number of things. One, the prerequisite is that of an accredited engineering program. Okay, you start there. Now, as it turned out, and this might be interesting here, after 2009, registrants are required to acquire what is described as further learning. In addition to the accredited degree, they should acquire further learning. Now, that further learning could be in the form of a master's degree, which is probably the easiest route, or other accredited training equivalent to a master's degree. Now, that master's degree doesn't have to be strictly an engineering degree. I mean, we have engineers who do MBAs, etc. The point is simply that as of 2009, the international organization which we subscribe determined that it was given the expanding body of engineering knowledge, and not only that, engineers need to acquire skills other than the engineering science. Okay? It turned out that we inherited the British system. The British engineers were doing 3-year degrees all along. The Europeans were already doing 4-year degrees. So by 2009, it was the Engineering Council in the UK decided, listen, these degrees need to go to 4 years. We, in turn, down here, decided to adopt the same thing. There was a lot of pushback. At the time, the principal here at the campus was Professor Sankat, and we were quite on board. There were pushback mainly from our CARICOM governments as a whole because of the cost. It was, well, to go into a 4-year degree would be quite costly. As it turned out, coincidentally, there was similar pushback in the UK.
Yes. So
the Engineering Council in the UK decided, okay, you do your 3-year degree, but you need to do a master or some further learning equivalent to. And I suppose that solved our problem as well. We adopted the same. So that's where we are. Now, once you pass the stage, the next thing you should have at least 4 years postgraduate experience, training, and qualification before you can make your first application to the board.
Yeah.
So that's basically what it takes to start the process.
Tell us about the process of registration.
Well, as I said, there's the accreditation committee,
yes,
which first deals with the qualifications of
yes,
the okay?
Of course.
And once that is done, your application then goes to one of the subcommittees for assessment. I said there's a rigorous assessment. We have different specialties. You have a committee would comprise of the expert for that particular specialty on which you wish to register. And it could be very broad. We have a number of categories of registration. And subcategories out of that. So that basically in a nutshell is the process.
Can an engineer change his category?
Strictly speaking, yes, it hasn't happened. But, well, no, sorry, let's put it next. The answer is yes. What I meant is that an engineer would hardly be registered into more than one category.
Yes.
But yes, if, for instance, I'm registered, let's say I'm registered as a civil engineer, and at some point in time I develop competency as let's say, a drainage engineer, and I want to be recognized, I want that particular specialty to be recognized, yes, I can change my category of registration. Yeah. So that can happen. And
how would compliance with the requirement for continuous professional development be implemented?
Well, that's key. No, that's key to in fact, the reason, it's probably key to the main reason why the board considered it desirable at this time to have an element of mandatory registration. Now, because let's understand this. In all developed countries and emerging developing countries, use the engineers. Now, engineering is in fact technological knowledge-based industry. And that is an industry which provides substantial foreign exchange to even emerging countries. Now, continuing professional development would allow us to build our competency and maintain that level of competency for global competition. And that's key. Now, how we will do that is this. But of course, I must add, in the absence of mandatory registration, there's no need to want to comply with any continuing professional development requirement.
Yes.
The board already has in place, together with the Association of Professional Engineers, what we call a CPD committee for the purpose of managing that whole question of continuing professional development. But if it's not mandatory, I mean, what is not mandatory, then there's no need to comply. But I can explain to you if and when the time comes, what would be, how it's done is this. We would select about 10% of the registrant on a yearly basis, target 10% on a yearly basis, ask them to provide evidence of their compliance with the requirement with a certain amount of, okay? And that is how it would go. Now, the fact that you would know whether you'll be called this year or next year is an incentive to get on board in terms of maintaining your continuing professional development.
Before we end, what is the risk to an employer, or if there is a risk to the employer, to hire an engineer who is not registered?
Well, the first thing, you cannot be assured that the engineer has the qualification and experience which he says he has. Once you engage a board-registered engineer, you can be satisfied, you can have faith and trust that that engineer has what he says he has, he's qualified, as he says, and he has the level of competency. So that's a major risk. Let's take into the general public. You engage the services of an engineer. You have some issue. If that engineer is registered, then you have a recourse for redress through the Board of Engineering. But if he's not, then I'm sorry, you're on your own. So that's a risk. That's a risk here. So it is therefore there is value in engaging the services of an engineer who is registered, because you have that redress course of redress in the event of any complaint you may have in terms of the performance of that particular engineer. Yeah. Because he's held to that standard.
An engineer whose desire is to be registered, how do they contact your board?
Well, we have a very active website and we have a very active LinkedIn page. You can simply get on the website, BOETT.org, and application forms are available there. All the information is available there. I should add as well, for the member of the public, the list of engineers is published there. You can find, there is a search tab, which you could insert the name and you could find. But for one who wants to apply, you can go online and you can find the application form. I would encourage engineers and people to, in fact, to follow our LinkedIn page. It's a very active page, and by LinkedIn standards, there's a high level of engagement on that LinkedIn page. There's a whole lot of information. In fact, all that I'm telling you here is available there. So certainly, that's a means by which the public and engineers and employers can, in fact, find information and know exactly how to be guided.
All right, Mr. Lezama, it was a pleasure speaking with you this morning, sir. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
So we are going to another break. We do have this live update for you from Tobago.
Even though we are 1.4 million, we does make quality men and women with intentions to forge we nation on. It's the struggles we face here every day that make a leader.